Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Happy February. Today I'll be doing a little recap of January and what I got up to. First, we're going to start with my one and only finished project for the month. It is my Oslo hat that I am making for a friend in this really cool forest green color. I actually frogged this in early January because it was way too big and I was worried about running out of yarn. But yeah, here we are now. I love this pattern. It's so simple to knit. It's a great on-the-go project. It fits in my little carrying bag. To be honest, I'm not thrilled with this yarn for this project. It's pretty like slippery. I've made the Oslo hat before for myself in a yarn that had a bit more fluff to it, which I prefer over this yarn, but it's still warm and soft. It just doesn't give that like cozy beanie vibe, but I think it's okay. Here it is again. The tensioning is like a little weird because I would go through stages of knitting English style and then continental, but I think I'm gonna block this hat, which should help kind of relax those more obvious changes in tension. So yeah, first finished object. I did start the year finishing a couple of things that I included in my 2022 wrap up, and so I've been busy crafting the entire month, and this definitely doesn't do justice. Next up, I'll go through my current whips. So the big one is the crochet baby blanket that I've been working on for about a month or so for my friends. In the new year, I had to re-up on my yarn, and I found some on eBay, but there were some delays with shipping, so I wasn't able to work on it for about 2.5 weeks. But I finally got those. I think I should be good to go to complete the project. I'm making this blanket quite large, which is a problem I made, or a mistake I made with the last baby blanket I made, but that's okay with me. I think like at the end of the day, if you're gonna have a blanket, you want it to be probably bigger versus smaller. You get longer use out of it, in my opinion. So it's just a granny stripe in this really pretty, I think it's called Toy Elephant. It's specifically a baby made yarn. Like, this is machine washable. It's really soft. There's not a lot of dye in it. It's reasonably inexpensive for a skein of yarn. I think I'm about 4 or 5 skeins in at this point. I think I'll end up using like 7 or 8. Like I said, I made this quite large. I think a traditional baby blanket would be about half the size I'm making this one. My goal is to finish this by the end of February, which is totally reasonable. I think I've calculated I have about 10 hours of crocheting left to do, but I need to pace myself with crochet. I get a lot of aches and pains in my wrists if I crochet too long. fortunately or unfortunately, the delay in shipping for those extra skeins of yarn really helped me out because I was forced to take a break for a little while. Like I said, I'm hoping to finish this in February. This is my meeting project. Like if I have a meeting that I'm listening to but I don't really need to participate, I will crochet while I'm sitting at my desk. And I think that that is the easiest way now because this blanket is getting so big and heavy. That's the easiest way for me to crochet. It gives the least amount of strain on my wrists. So this is a nice project to have. I love incorporating 1 or 2 crochet projects a year into the mix. I'm not very advanced at crochet, and like if you see the edges of this, you can definitely tell. But I like to mix it up sometimes, and this has been a fun little side project to work on. Next project I worked on was the test swatch for the Nulato sweater that I did in this beautiful purple color. So I'm gonna pull it down. I just have it here on my bulletin board because I think it's cute. I wanted to make sure that this one worked out, like the test swatch was important to me. The other thing is I wanted this to fit more snug than the photos. So the designer's photos on the pattern, she's wearing, I believe, a size up. She's wearing the large, extra large. And so I'm knitting the small, medium version because I want it to be fairly snug. Not tight by any means, but not like the very oversized look. And so test swatch helped. I'm like right-ish on gauge, and the small medium pattern should be fine. Here is where I'm at for the sweater. Excuse the clacking needles. The cables have been so fun. They look fabulous. I love this purple color. I think it's so pretty. It's almost like a neutral. I'm just to the part where you split for the underarms, and I think that's kind of put this on hold because now I'm just going to be doing the body, and not that it's a slog, but the excitement has kind of worn off. And I think that's just because of my other whip. Like, I love this sweater. The pattern is super simple, though I did have to frog a bit of it. I did one of the shoulders, but picked up like all of the underarm stitches. And so by the time I finished the shoulder, I had to rip it all back, and it was really frustrating. That was like a day of wasted work. And because of that, I've kind of been like, oh, I don't know. I don't really want to work on it. But now pulling it out and having it in front of me, I feel reinvigorated to work on it. This will kind of be my main couch project once the baby blanket is done, because I'm really trying to finish that blanket soon. I've been working on it for a long time, so I'm kind of getting over it and just ready for it to be completed. And then the Nulato sweater will be my main focus. Overall, really pleased with this. I love the yarn that I chose, and I'm excited to be able to wear it. If you saw my last video, you may have seen that I did the test swatch for my Crazy Loop fur sweater. The reason I did a test swatch was because I wanted to make sure I actually liked the colors together before I went all in and purchased that bulk order of yarn. The test swatch is done. I love it. I'm obsessed. This is like exactly what I was hoping for. This electric blue color is the Chroma worsted yarn from Knit Picks, so it changes. I don't know what it's called. It changes. So this is so fun. Like, I just can't wait to wear it. Like, just imagine this as a full jacket. It's gonna be amazing. So I did go ahead and purchase what I'm hoping will cover the full project. It's definitely an investment. I'm going to have to wear this because it is pricey, but I've started with the back panel because that'll kind of set the tone for the length, and I think it's the easiest to understand how long to make it using the back. So yeah, I'm using 4 strands of Wool of the Andes, 1 strand of the Chroma, and then 1 strand of mohair, depending on what stage of the color the Chroma is at. So right now, while I'm knitting, I'm in this like very light white. So I'm using the darker mohair, this more like teal color. Once I'm in sections that are closer to this more electric blue, I'll use the white mohair like you can see in the test swatch. In my initial swatch, I used 2 strands of mohair at once, but it just made it feel like, it made it look almost felted, and which is not the vibe that I was going for. And so I decided to use just one of each color. I feel like this mohair is particularly fuzzy, and maybe it's just because of the way I've been pulling it, but I don't want to say it looks messy, but it does definitely give like a very fuzzy look that I think is more obvious in this loop pattern than it is in like a traditional knit stitch. So what I did with the first round of yarn is I wound all 5 I wound all 5 balls together to make it easier, so I wasn't managing 6 balls of yarn at once. I probably won't do this again because I found that the tension of the different balls is not equal throughout the whole project, so I've had to like cut chunks out, knot it together to make it smooth. Maybe it'll be helpful if I give an example. So like these 3 are taut here, but these 2 are like, this one especially is quite loose. And this just makes it like more challenging to deal with, and you have to keep like smoothing the knot out. So I may wind the 3 yarns that are the same color together just to make it one ball that's not too large or too unwieldy to manage, and then potentially wind like the Chroma and the brighter blue Wool of the Andes. And then I'll keep the mohair separate because I think if you've used mohair before, you know how difficult it can be, and how, you know, if it knots, it's knotted, there's no getting that out. And so I just figured it would be easier and better off if I left it on its own. The other thing is I'm switching the mohair through the different sections of the ball, and so I think that'll be easier for me to perceive as I'm knitting it versus when I was winding the balls. I'm obsessed. Like, this has really taken over my priority because it's so fun, and it's just gonna look so cool, though it's gonna take a long time. So I'm kind of letting it be my main priority right now, knowing that there will be a time when it's really heavy and just too much work to knit. And so then I'll switch to other projects. That's everything that I've been working on in January or have worked on. In February, I'm hoping to wrap up a couple of those projects and potentially start my Sophie shawl and maybe a pair of vanilla socks. I have some Wool in the Gang yarn that I would love to finally use. It's this really cool black sparkly yarn. I'm gonna grab it actually. This year I'm hoping to get rid of some of my stash. I have a very small stash compared to most knitters, I think, but I've kind of restricted myself to what it can fit behind me in a way that's like not overwhelming in my Zoom backgrounds. So most of the projects I've planned are around yarns that I already own. And honestly, that's because I love the yarns that I have and I want to be able to use them. So it's not like, honestly, it's not like to save money or anything. It's just I really like what I have and I want to be able to use it. So those are kind of the plans for February for now. I'm hoping that I can finish the Sophie shawl or at least bring it with when we go on vacation the first week of March. We're going to Belize to learn how to scuba dive. So I think that would be like a perfect little addition to an outfit. I'm also substituting yarn, so it's not going to be like a fluffy wool mohair top that I'm wearing to the beach. Behind me has started to get a bit messy because of how many projects I have going on at once, and I am a little worried about what I'm going to do once these 40 balls of yarn come that I purchased for my crazy loop fur sweater. So I need to get a move on and start making space, and I think that means that I need to focus on the new Lotto sweater and get that finished up in the next couple of weeks. And I think finally we're on like life updates, changes, things going on. I don't know if you've noticed, but I got my hair cut finally, like over a year. Oh, I was gonna say over a year overdue, but I got my hair cut a year ago. So maybe like 6 to 8 months overdue. I started a pottery class last week, a 6-week intro to pottery class. I'm having a blast. I love it. I'm always looking for new hobbies, which is maybe a flaw, but I love the instructor. The studio is really close to my house. It's really convenient for me to go, and I've been having a lot of fun finding a new creative outlet. The books I've been reading, not super interesting. Not any that I would really recommend. I love audiobooks. I listen to them often when I'm knitting, if I'm not watching other YouTube videos. But I haven't really gotten a great one in a while. The last one I really liked was, I think it's called A Curious Mind by Brian Glazer. It's good. I resonated with it a lot, but it's very name droppy, and that was like a little much for me by the end of it. I do love with audiobooks how you can put them on 1.5 speed and finish in much quicker time, but I would recommend that book if you're listening to it as an audiobook. I don't know that I would have liked it as much if it was a book that I was reading. But it's read by the author, so it kind of feels more like a podcast than a book per se. I think that's all my, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot. Another one of my hobbies that I've been really into lately is baking. So for my birthday last year, I got a baking cookbook, Dessert Person by Claire Saffitz, and it is incredibly well written. But my goal is to make every recipe in the book. And I would say I'm probably about 20% done, but there are a handful of recipes that I haven't attempted because in order to do them well, you really need a stand mixer, and I just had never been in the place where I was ready to make that sort of investment. They are pretty expensive and there's a bunch of different options, so it can get overwhelming. But I actually got an Instagram ad to their website because they sell, basically the Instagram ad was showing me that they sell refurbished mixers. So I got essentially a brand new mixer for less than half the price, and it shipped within a couple days, and I'm obsessed with it. I love it, and I can't wait to see all the things I can make now. So maybe sprinkled in here in the next couple of videos, I'll have some of my top baked goods. Maybe that'll be a new segment. Thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out with me. I'd love to hear what you got up to in January, so please leave a comment below, and I will see you next time. Thanks, bye.